Hey there, Dave.
Londo, Happy New Year's. How
Happy
are
New Year
ya?
to you too.
Oh,
Happy New
man.
Year's to you too. 2021. Finally,
Finally.
you are here, right?
Yes, we made it through.
You kick 2021 in the somewhere. Get it
Somewhere.
out of here. Enough of that. We're glad you joined us for another What the Tech episode.
Yeah.
We are so looking forward to a much better 2021. I'm sure if you're listening to me, whether you're watching us on the stream or you're watching us on our playback or you're watching us on any of the platforms that we're supporting today, uh, we welcome you to our stream. And we want to share with you some of the highlights from 2020, at least the ones that we could cram into this short segment, right, Dave? There's a
That's
lot.
right.
There's a lot of stuff we could have talked about, but I think these are some of the big ones that I think that our audience would find, so in some cases, amusing, and some rather surprising. One of them, well, we'll get into. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's jump into it. So, Ori, let's. So one of the things that I found, Dave, very interesting about 2020, and it's got to be at the top of the list of anything what we're talking about. What happened in 2020 was the COVID situation, which forced a lot of people to be indoors, or work from home.
Yeah, yeah.
And in most cases, a lot of what we saw on TV was a result of folks working from home, especially if you did any kind of broadcasting, if you did any interviews, they were all remote. And
They
you know what?
definitely got creative. There was a lot of creativity coming through when all that started. Did you notice like Saturday Night Live when all this began?
Yeah,
They were all doing it virtually. It was
Kimmel
amazing.
was, Colbert
Yeah. That
was,
was fun.
all of them were. What's the other guy who goes on after? Is it Colbert? Yeah, the guy that goes the
Fallon.
British. Fallon was from working from home,
Yep.
and all of them, all of the late night folks were working
Yeah.
from home, and so a lot of them, some did better than others. Some adjusted their style, their presentation, what they used, like actual gear, video, audio, all of that. I think it was Conan O'Brien who was saying that at the early parts of the pandemic, all of his recordings were stored in an SD card, overnighted to the studio from there.
Wow.
No using internet.
No kidding.
Yeah, I know. So it was interesting who used what approach and what happened. But what I found even more interesting, if watching any kind of TV during Christmas or Thanksgiving, how many people did not adjust their either gear or equipment to really have something adequate
Yeah, I
to
noticed
to
that.
to really show. Obviously, not everybody went back to the studio. Not everybody went back and was broadcasting with high definition equipment. But there's some small changes that folks that are talking on TV can and should make in order to give themselves the best possible sounding on it. I thought we would have a little bit of fun with this and show some clips of what you probably don't want to sound like when you're on TV. And if you're one of these people that we're highlighting, please don't take it personal. It's just to educate our audience so that we can all learn. And again, our mission is to help you sound better so you could sell more. So we first want to show you a clip that shows some folks working from home being interviewed by different news outlets, and you tell me, or if you want to comment in the comment below, let us know what you think. And then we're going to show you a second clip in a little bit with some folks that are doing the right things or sound better. So, Ori, let's roll that first clip and show our folks what we found in 2020.
Weren't as busy as last year, but we know that conversion is much better. So I like all the upscale retailers like LVMH. I like Kering. I like all of those people, Ralph Lauren, who are doing stuff with the customer that is getting to them where they live.
That's correct. Well, thanks for having me on, Rahel. Appreciate it. What we've done this morning is look at how many vehicles we think Tesla can sell in 2025. That's been the basis for our valuation. And
success. So tell us about that. What do you see moving forward?
Yeah, well, one of the big problems for Tesla is having enough cash to pay for all of these ambitious goals that Elon Musk has set forward. To get to those millions of sales, millions of production, Tesla needs lots of factory room.
Even the kinds of visual content people are looking at is different. So the types of food you might eat in Indonesia is not necessarily the food you're going to eat in the United States.
So at the moment, a lot of our computer vision are built off of standardized data sets that have been built in high-income countries. And those data sets, ImageNet is probably one of the best known, look very, very different than the data sets that you might see sort of.
So Dave,
Wow.
what do you think about that? So folks that are out there talking on interviews, this is some of these are a couple of weeks ago. These clips that we grabbed.
Yep.
Let me get your thoughts.
So they're using what they have, right? So they're using a consumer good.
For those that were using a headset.
Yeah, I saw a lot of AirPods, a lot of earbud style. You know,
But by the way,
boom
did you know that the
microphones.
AirPods is one of the highest reviewed, and probably, if it's the highest reviewed, probably the most purchased headset on Amazon today?
I can believe it. I mean,
Uh,
that's how many reviews did you say
I
there
think
were?
we were over 200,000 reviews when I looked at it last.
Amazing.
By far more than any other headset that I could find on Amazon. And so I would imagine that it's probably the most widely used. And as you saw some of those interviews, the first guys that were on there, or the first three, they all had AirPods.
Yep. Yep. And you could tell. You could tell that their audio wasn't very full. You know, it wasn't rich. It was very maybe tinny, somewhat mono sounding. There was no gusto behind it.
It sounded a little bit robotic to me. And now, you and I are using some studio microphones, and not
Right.
everybody has some of these to use, and they probably don't have the space or time, or they're not on interviews a lot, so that's not a thing. But I do find it interesting that some folks just did not have any kind of anything like microphones to improve that voice, because you want to put your best audio forward, and the native audio on a computer just doesn't cut it. There's a lot of echo that happens, and your voice kind of carries in the room. A lot of audio bouncing off the walls when you're using the native microphone that's on the computer, whether it's more than likely a laptop with all these folks. The native audio on that laptop just doesn't do you justice, and
Yeah.
as we saw, and not to pick on those folks, but that's just the fact is what it is. It just doesn't put the best foot forward when you're using that audio. And I thought it was a little bit funny that all these people, I'm sure, are very smart people, very bright people, but the lack of good audio. Now we're going to roll over to some really good, or some better, I should say, better audio, and so that you could see the difference on, especially if you're doing any kind of engagement. If you are doing, in this case, these people are on TV. So let's just say TV, Zoom, you're doing collaboration, anything that requires you to speak more than a minute or two, really, because if you're going to hear somebody's voice for a prolonged period of time, whether it's an interview, you're on Zoom, you're on Teams, or any of these other collaboration platforms. As a listener, I know that the moment I have some kind of audio that sounds weird, I'm starting to tune out. And I'm not, and over the years, we know, you and I, Dave, know that it tends to be because the audio doesn't just come through clearly like a natural voice coming through a phone or through a headset. So the lack of clarity, it does kind of throw you off. It versus when you hear, just like when you're hearing, a rich, well-sounding podcast that's in a studio, like if you listen to, I don't know, who do you listen to on podcasts?
I'm a Joe Rogan guy.
Okay, so Joe Rogan, so he's got like amazing audio, or Howard Stern, amazing audio, and regardless of what they're talking about, the content, the quality of how they sound is just very engaging, and it's very inviting, and it takes down the barriers so that you are listening probably longer, and people do listen to both of those, and those are long podcasts, right?
Yep.
And
long
so
format.
they're long, especially Howard. He's on for several hours. So the audio really is important. So if you're listening to me, you're watching this, we're going to roll it now, Ori, over to some folks that clearly understood the importance of good audio. Go ahead and roll it.
And these devices may be a lot different than what we're used to with iPhones. They might have less computing power And the data usage among people in these countries is also different. They might not have access to Wi-Fi.
So to start, how have you seen more and more companies turning to this idea of using music and dance to express their brand?
Yeah, well, what we've seen over the last year is just an incredible rise of this entertainment first marketing where it's no longer enough to just create a commercial to present to your customer. You really want to create something that's entertaining and draws them in emotionally. And music and movement have become big pillars of that. This really started with Gen Z, which grew up with their camera in their hand, snapping photos and videos in a very authentic and raw way to their friends.
Dave,
good dance.
Could you tell? Put a little bit
too much dancing last night. It's New Year's Day. I'm a little danced out.
Day, I'm not gonna say anything. It was chilled for me. I kept it calm. There's not a lot of things at this moment we could do, so it was a lot of Zooming with family that are scattered all over the world for me.
Right. But with the audio quality, so the first gentleman that came on was wearing, I think it was a headset this.
It was actually. So he had the stereo
duo
version. You have the mono version.
Right. And my microphone is hidden because I'm just using it for my receive audio there. But he was using that. Again, a little form over function. He sounded much better than the first few clips that we had shown to everybody there. So the audio there sounded rich. It sounded good. It sounded really good.
And it's not a small headset. And I noticed something in obviously both of those two different videos was that the boomless, let's call them boomless, AirPods, anything like that form factor is just not gonna give you as rich an audio with the last two where we had two guys using a microphone headset.
Right.
That microphone being closer to your mouth does bring in better audio quality than, let's say, the AirPods where you have the microphone all the way back in your ear.
Yeah, it tends to. And then the second user there, pretty nice looking headset, is somewhat inconspicuous.
Yeah, it seemed like it had a neck band that wrapped around to the back.
Yeah, that's
I couldn't make out that brand because I couldn't see him. If he would have gone from the side, I probably would have been able to tell from the logo.
Maybe.
But in any case, it sounded really good. And so if you're watching this and you have the ability to go, and you're especially going to be on TV, I would advise you simply just get a headset with a microphone that is closer to your mouth. It's going to pick up better audio. You're going to sound better. You're going to present better. And especially if you're going to be on multiple interviews, or even use that for collaboration. So if you're going to do collaboration, you're collaborating with your coworkers several times or over months. In this case, I think I shouldn't say, most people that are working from home are probably going to end up collaborating from here on out. It's going to be, I think, a regular staple. And I'm not hearing any folks at any of the major organizations that use collaboration tools say that their subscriber base is going down. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But as we jump into the next thing, Dave, did you want to add anything?
I just wanted to add, I know that people are now bringing their own devices, and if you're concerned about budgets, you can still get a good headset with a boom microphone. That's, you can get a $100 one, which I believe is less expensive than AirPods, and you can have that experience. What I'm saying is it's not going to blow your budget out. You can still give it without having to spend a ton of money.
And you're right. And Dave, just so folks know that we haven't manipulated anything, what I want to do is right here on air, I'm going to grab my phone, I'm going to put on some AirPods, and I'm going to talk to you. So Ori, when I grab my AirPods and I put them on, so just give me a second while I do that. Yep, go ahead and mute me.
All right, so he's going to do the AirPod test. All right. Not as easy to put in, are they? All right, this will be interesting. All right, let's do a test now. All right, we don't hear you quite yet.
Here's my phone. Oh,
Yep.
okay. Now I hear you. Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to talk. This is with the AirPods. You can see it's just like all those other people looking cool. I can get rid of these, right? I can look cool. Be all right. Be styling. Be chilling, right? So they look cool. They rest on your ear. They're comfortable. I hear you really well in my ear, but I suspect that the audio is going to be very similar to what some of those folks sounded like in those interviews. Or no? Do I have it wrong?
No, so I can hear you, and it's you can tell it's not as robust. And frankly, if we were having a 1 hour long meeting, or a 1 hour long interview, afterwards I'd say, Rolando, you need to upgrade. You need to upgrade your hardware because that's just not going to cut it for what we're trying to accomplish.
What the Teck? What? I don't have the best. What the? These are like the best headsets that are out there.
You are just as trendy as my grandmother because everybody's got them, but you don't sound great. You don't sound great.
So if you're watching this is so that you could see what this actually should sound like. I've got them in. I'm using my phone to communicate to you right now, and you hear me through that rather than this microphone. So I implore you, if you have these, don't throw them away. Use them for what you want to use them for. But if you're going to use something for collaboration, there's a whole list, and we've got several things that we're listing in our. If you're watching us on Amazon, we have several devices that you can use as well. We invite you, and this is probably a good time before we go to the next segment to tell folks that we have a store that's got a whole array of headsets that you'll find that will do a more than adequate job in terms of providing you sound like you saw on that second clip. And there, if you don't know and you would like recommendations, reach out to us, send us some comments, reach out to us, whatever app you're using. And any one of our folks that's from the customer service team will help you get the right headset. Just let us know what you're looking to do, and we'll go ahead and hook you up. So I'm going to switch.
Well,
go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, we'll consult with them to find the solution that makes the most sense for them.
All right. So I'm going to.
All right, and as we're waiting for you to go on, the other thing with AirPods, I guess I would have to say would be the battery life. I don't know if those are really intended for an office user that needs something to use all day long, whereas a lot of the wireless headsets that we're selling from Poly to EPOS to Jabra, they know that they're going in a work environment. They need to have that 8+ hours of talk time, so they're designed to do that, and I just don't know if AirPods are going to hold up for a full day's workday.
Probably not. And the folks that I've talked to, and by the way, again, these folks make a good product when you're using your mobile phone. Not to say that this is a good product for using on your mobile phone, making just regular calls, but that's not the only thing out there. And we want to let people know there are other options. There are other options for the type of things that you're using that will be more relevant. So, we get to play with all of these toys, Dave. So for me, I have a headset when I go to when I was going to events. I use my Plantronics 5200, which should be on our carousel as well. And if I'm going to be traveling in an airport, I have a Blue Parrot because it does a phenomenal job of blocking out background noise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it depends on what you're doing. If you have the ability to use more than one headset, make sure you get the right one for your intended need. Now, so talking about need, Dave, last year, so it'd be 2020. I remember going to CES. And it was my first time at CES, and this is one of the surprises of 2020, although we're in 2021 now. The CES is going to be virtual in 2021. I cannot believe that. In that show, I don't know if you've been, Dave, but it is 175,000 strong, and it's not just in one convention center. It's actually through the whole strip of Las Vegas and multiple hotels in the convention center. So there's booths and events all up and down the strip.
Yep.
All up and down the strip. Now all of that's moving to the cloud virtually, powered by Microsoft. I'm amazed at that it's this year, no CES, no physical CES at Vegas. It's all virtual. And there we go. Thanks, Ori, for putting up that press release that was put out by CES. And here's the amazing part about this is that it's going to be powered by Microsoft, using the Azure cloud platform. And they anticipate that there'll be many more users going to CES virtually than physically, based on other events that they have hosted that had, normally 50,000 people went, now 200,000 people attended online. So it gets more folks that did either could not travel to Vegas or would not travel to Vegas, the ability to go attend CES. I don't know if it's here to stay even after everything gets better, but certainly will be well attended this year, I think.
I think it'll be a good event. Technology will certainly come in and save the day. The vendors there that are showcasing work at home style solutions or technology that supports work at home, I'm sure that those vendors are certainly going to shine. I'm interested to see if some of the other vendors that are doing more consumer driven things, whether it's for health, wellness, things like that, curious to see what sort of technology they will be using. Cameras, microphones, headsets, etc. I guess the one thing that really hurts me is I was looking forward to attending. I'm in the Northeast. I really wanted to get over to some better weather, but I guess we'll have to wait until another day.
Yeah, absolutely, till another day. So as you've talked about equipment and vendors, we work with some of the big ones there. So Jabra, Plantronics, Poly, Sennheiser, which is now EPOS. All of these folks will be doing events virtually. We also feature them they're on our carousel. So if you're on Amazon, you have the opportunity to purchase them there on our carousel. We have several products of theirs right below. So go ahead, click those. We have those in stock. Amazon will get those right out to you. So Dave, the other part about CES was that it was a great way to also network. I know I found it really interesting to have other folks that we work with all in one city, rather than crisscrossing up and down the coast or back to back, coast to coast. So it's a great event to network with folks that you actually work with, or in this case, partner with. So we'll see what it's like with the virtual side of things. Won't have to leave the comfort of your home, which is a cool thing. I like that aspect. And you're done with a meeting, you can go ahead and have your breakfast or lunch or dinner, wherever you happen to be in the day. Instead of to go 2 miles during CES, it took an hour.
Yep.
Because there's so much traffic, you just can't. You're literally parked. You're inching your way through. So we'll have to see. I'm hopefully optimistic that the event will go off well and they won't have a hitch. And speaking of hitch, which allows us to go right into the next piece, which is platforms. People that are working from home, if you're watching us in 2021 now, or even later in 2021 during a playback of this video, the platforms in 2020 really saved the day in some ways and forced the adoption of some of these technologies. I think the Microsoft CEO say things that would have taken another 2 years in 2020, so like 2022, some things that were in the pipeline or roadmap were condensed and pressed into a matter of 2 months. So organizations that wanted to go to the cloud and just kind of getting their dabbling, maybe they had a test group here or looking into it or researching it. Now, you want to stay competitive, you want to keep your business continuity going, you had to be on a cloud platform.
And those technology leaders, like you were saying, it was kind of like a forced adoption. They were already piloting. They had their test groups, they were testing it out, probably over-analyzing the data. And then when the lockdown happened back in March, they had to make moves. And they had to make quick moves. And I know that was really exciting for a lot of these cloud providers because they have some wonderful solutions. They have the call center solutions. They have, the office, work at home. It was there at their fingertips. So yeah, the technology leaders, yeah, they had to make some quick moves, and I'm sure it was risky, and I'm sure that there were certainly some superheroes at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, to check these numbers out, so Microsoft quotes, or they say they have about, and this is as of November, so November 2020 when they had these numbers, so maybe slightly higher than now, but they were basically saying they had 115 million active daily users use Teams, so Microsoft Teams. That is a lot of
Unbelievable.
people, and that's a global number. I would imagine that's probably a global number because it's Microsoft is spread around the world.
Yep.
But check these out. Zoom, now they measure their numbers a little bit differently, so take this with a grain of salt because Zoom says they had around 300 million daily participants worldwide, but that could be me being on a Zoom call 2 or 3 times a day on different Zooms. So instead of being an active participant, like I should say active user, like Microsoft quotes, they use participation. But even still, 300 million times people joined some kind of meeting on Zoom is like we would have never imagined that in 2019 or even 2020 with a normal year, right?
Yeah, and take into account all the schools, all the students, and then all the professional users. So now they have, they're kind of taking two groups of people and bringing them together. But yeah, that's amazing. Over 300 million.
And it's a phenomenal amount of people, and I take it that this is here to stay. The clients that talk to us tell us this is here to stay. There may be some peeling off or actually rolling back the frequency of some of the collaborations and meetings, but I think it's here to stay. I think a lot of people want to be able to not do the commuting that they were doing before, saving on gas, money, clothes, you name it. And if you have a family and you have folks that, in some cases it was good, some cases it was bad, but it definitely, I think in the overall perspective, a lot more people found it a positive thing to be able to collaborate with colleagues and work from home than the daily running out of the house, getting home, and then running back later in the evening. But what I want to say as we're wrapping up on this segment here, Dave, was that technology is here to stay, and as folks adopt this technology, you certainly want to use the right end devices, the endpoints, the devices that connect to the Zoom, connect to the Teams, connect to the different platforms like WebEx and RingCentral and 8x8.
Right.
Because without having the right kind of gear, you kind of sound like our folks in that first segment, where they could sound better if they had the right gear. So a plug for, again, all of our devices that are featured below in the carousel. If you're watching us on Amazon, you'll be able to check those. Those devices are going to work, give you the best quality audio on those collaboration platforms, on Zoom or Teams, or virtually anything that you're using for a business purpose. I also want to say, while you're watching us, you're starting the new year, like, subscribe, hit all the buttons, all of the notifications and preferences so that you can get this content. If you like this content, or maybe you have a topic that you're really interested in that you want to hear about, we love engaging with our customers. We love ideas. Send it our way. Let us know what's on your mind. Maybe you want to do some more product. You want us to do more product demonstrations like we just did. We'd love to bring you. Give us some feedback, and we'd love to engage with you. Dave, do you want to say anything else as we wrap up?
It's a whole new world. It's a whole new year. Let's just all keep our heads up. We've adapted. I think as human beings, we've persevered in the face of something as awful as the pandemic. So, I just want to wish you a happy new year, and everyone else out there a happy new year, and hope for a better 2021.
Happy New Year, everybody. We look forward to a much better 2021 with you. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.